everybody to Survive in Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive in Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. To get up to 100% cashback bonus on your first deposit up to $300, make sure you enter the promo code TGT100 at MyBookie.ag or go to the top of the GruelingTruth.com page and click on the banner. I am your co-host for Survive in Advance, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I'd like to welcome in the immortal Indiana Basketball Hall of Famer and 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great today, Mike. Thank you. You dumped superlatives on me that are not worthy.
I know.
But thank
Next
you for
up,
the kind
we've
words.
got our NBA beat reporter, Cole Hanna. How you doing, Cole?
Doing pretty good, guys. Doing pretty good.
All right, guys. So we're
Mike.
what?
Mike.
What?
You didn't have to so readily agree with that. You could have thrown it. Nah, Steve, really, you undercredit yourself. You could have thrown that in there.
I could have, but this is called the Grueling Truth, and I didn't want to lie. You want to
touche,
change
well
it?
played.
Want to change the network to thebigfatlie.com or look at stevesring.com.
There you go.
Or
I haven't.
what happened
about
against the
my
Warr in
rings.
1977.com.
I wear that banner with an orange, that with a banner, but whatever.
Or
I have no
Kyle
ill
Guy is
will
now
toward
better
that
than
happening.
me.com.
I still am part of the lore of a great high school basketball game and a great gym. And even though I was on the losing end of it, it still was, in this day and age of my life, a privilege to be a part of.
It's still lost. All right, let's go ahead and let's look at the Milwaukee
Yes,
Bucks
we
and
did.
the Toronto Raptors, who will play Game 4 tonight, which is a huge game. The Raptors need to win this game, Cole, to stay in the series. What's the key to the Raptors doing this again? Because the thing I saw, and the only thing I saw here, was Giannis fouls out. He only scores 12 points. And in the end, Kawhi Leonard drops 36. Siakam drops 25. And it still took 2 overtimes for the Raptors to get the win here.
Yep. Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing for Toronto. Is they're going to have to continue to limit Giannis. They have 2 great defenders in Kawhi and Siakam who can guard him and guard him well, and they did that in their one game they won. The issue is, though, for Toronto here is Milwaukee is just a much deeper team. You limit Giannis, which is what you need to do. They did a good job of limiting Chris Middleton as well as one of their most effective scorers. He just goes 3 of 16 from the field in that game. But Milwaukee has so many good players up and down that roster. George Hill can go off at any point. He scored 24 in that game. Michael Brogdon, who is still working his way back from injury. He looks good, but he's probably not even 100% right now. He goes and scores 20. They have weapons up and down the roster, even coming off the bench, that can hurt you. And Toronto is not that deep. Siakam finally had a good game in this series in Game 3. He's going to need to keep that up. But he struggled in the first 2 games. Marc Gasol finally came alive again in their last game as well. He had been really in no man's land in the first 2 games. The big thing is I think Kawhi is just going to have to carry that team. When Giannis struggles, Milwaukee has guys that can step up and carry the load. Toronto doesn't have that. It's going to have to be the Kawhi Leonard show from here on out. And, they're going to have to continue to limit the weapons from Milwaukee. I don't think they have the firepower to win this series. I really don't. I just think Milwaukee's too deep, too many weapons.
Yeah, and I think that what we saw in Game 3 is what has to happen for the Raptors to play well, which is Giannis has to be limited under 20 points, and Middleton's got to be held down. And I just think there's too many variables here to get 4 wins in basically the next 5 games, Steve.
Yeah, I don't see Toronto winning this series. However, I do see an opportunity for them to make the series a lot more interesting than I think Milwaukee thought it was going to be. They did find a kink in the Bucks to some degree. If they can sustain that kink is the $10 question. But they were able to hold Giannis to 12 points. But he contributed in other ways. He pulled down 20 rebounds, had 7 assists. He played some good defense himself, contributed 45 out of 48 minutes to the team. He did make 8 turnovers, which I thought was a little high. I mean, they took Giannis out of his game a little bit. And
but Steve, is that a chink in the armor, or is that just a fluke occurrence? Because let's face it, Giannis is
that's
a
what we'll
great
find
player.
out tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what we'll find out tonight. I think that if somehow Toronto could pull out a win, again, I don't see a scenario where the Bucks lose this series, but they could push it to 6 games with a win tonight. They lose tonight, and the series is over, obviously, because we're going back to Milwaukee for the next Game 5 after that. So, but I see that, and I have not seen anybody be able to slow down Leonard yet. And, you know, Cole brought up a good point. The depth just isn't there for Toronto, but they've been playing with 5 to 6 guys pretty much the entire playoffs. I mean, the win was just kind of made things a little more interesting than we thought this series was going to be, or at least how I thought it was going to be.
Well, I don't think it's interesting until they win tonight, because I expected
agreed.
4 or 5 games. One game doesn't surprise me. And the thing that still sits with me is this. It doesn't matter how many points Kawhi Leonard scores for them to win. It is the Siakams and the Gasols and Norman Powell, who had 19 points in 30 minutes. That's why they would win games in this series, Cole. I don't think it's ever going to be just because of Kawhi, because if Kawhi goes off for 50 and nobody else has got more than 10 or 12 points, they're not going to win a game.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. No, that's exactly, and that's why they won Game 3, is they got that help that Kawhi wasn't really getting for those first couple games. But, you know, Mike, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head here. Is Game 3 was kind of a perfect storm for Toronto. They limited Giannis. They limited multiple of the big weapons from Milwaukee. They got help from multiple guys around Kawhi, and it still took double overtime to win.
Yeah, and it's kind of
so,
like,
you know,
Cole, Game 1 when Boston beat Milwaukee was kind of the same thing. You had this concurrence of events that's not going to happen repeatedly, but once that concurrence is gone and you have to straight up beat these guys, they just didn't have the firepower in Boston, and I don't think they've got the firepower in Toronto either.
Exactly. I just don't see, outside of Kawhi, guys that are going to step up and consistently play around Kawhi. I think the big thing for Siakam, that's the guy I'm kind of looking to tonight to see what kind of game can he has. That's been their second leading scorer all year long. He's been good in the playoffs up until this series. Struggled the first 2 games. I think he's having to exert more energy than he'd like to in the defensive end guarding Giannis. But he's going to have to get over that. He's going to have to be a consistent weapon next to Kawhi, and I'm going to see if he can keep that up in Game 4 offensively. All
right, now let's go out west, Steve, and you get the Warriors and the Trailblazers. And this series is now over. Last night, 119-117. Golden State wins it. And I think that this series is just a case of Steph Curry is better than everybody else.
You have to start looking at Steph Curry, and I don't want to ruffle your feathers, but he's got to start pushing into that envelope of the greatest players of all time, of a Bird or a Johnson. Now, he's not there yet, but he certainly is making a case to where
what's he got to do to be there, Steve? Because I think he does. And when we had the discussion about the best player in the NBA, and I brought up Steph Curry, everybody kind of laughed at it, but all I see is they lost their best player, or what's supposed to be their best player, and then all of a sudden he just steps it up and takes things over. And last night, 37 points. And this is against a Portland team that played really well last night, Cole. I mean, Lillard and McCallum combined for 54 points. They got a guy named Leonard at center who scores 30 points. Zach Collins, 10 off the bench. And it's still not enough to beat the Warriors. And I think these teams, when you look at them, I think without Kevin Durant there's a case to be made that if you go 7 or 8 deep, the Trailblazers have more talent, but they don't have Steph Curry.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what's the key to this series. They had no answer for Steph Curry all game long, or all series long. You can make the argument about where Steph Curry ranks in the NBA, but the bottom line is he played like a top 1 or 2 player in the NBA throughout this series. I mean, they had no answer for him. He gets a triple-double in Game 4 to close out Portland. And then on the flip side, Damian Lillard's that guy that had been dominant throughout the playoffs. He had a good game last night, but credit to Klay Thompson, he was able to limit him throughout that series. I believe, last night was the only game in the series where Damian Lillard shot over 40% from the field. That he had only scored over 20 points twice in the 4 games. So Klay Thompson really took Damian Lillard out of his rhythm. And on the other end, Portland just had no answer defensively for Steph Curry. He carried them through that series. You know, like you said, Golden State didn't have Kevin Durant, but it didn't matter because Steph Curry replaced his scoring and really didn't have a whole lot of trouble doing it.
All right, Steve, what's your take here on the Warriors? I mean, are they a better team without Durant? Or is this a case of just it's a better matchup for them against the Blazers when they're going small, and then maybe if they play Milwaukee, they're going to have issues without Durant?
I was looking over the lines from both teams this morning, and both Green and Curry said we're not going to win this series against Milwaukee without KD playing.
But do you really believe that they believe that?
I have to believe they would.
I think this. I think if you throw Steph Curry out there 1-on-5, he thinks he's going to win the game. I think they're just playing lip service. And also this, if Durant doesn't play and they say that and then they still win, doesn't that make them even bigger?
I don't know.
You know how it is. You did interviews before. I'm sure at some point, like when you lost to Aurora before that game. And the thing was this. When you look at that, a lot of times you say things just to make I don't know how to say this, but like a kind of a backhanded point. And the thing is, they just beat Portland, who's a really good team, and they swept them without Kevin Durant. So they've won a title before without Kevin Durant. So I don't think it's, beyond comprehension that they could beat Milwaukee, Cole.
No, I mean, Golden State's a good enough team to, whether Kevin Durant plays or not, they can beat Milwaukee. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion they beat Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is another really, really good team who has the weapons and has the depth to go toe-to-toe with Golden State. Giannis against Steph, in that scenario, would be really interesting to see how well they do. I don't think it's a scenario where, it's like you said, this team's won a title without Durant. This isn't a situation where Golden State just can't match up without Durant. I think they showed against Portland. They swept a very good Portland team without Durant. This team has more than enough weapons to win a title. Obviously, they get Kevin Durant back. That's just another really, really effective weapon. But Milwaukee's a really good team as well. I think it'll be a good series whether Durant plays or not.
All right. So, Steve, when we look at this, the thing that really stands out to me about Steph Curry is when you look at this line. I would right now, I would put Steph Curry with guys like Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton, Magic Johnson, because this dude just dropped 37 points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists in basically a clinching game. How could you not already have him up there as an all-time great?
Well, the only reason I wouldn't, and I'm not saying I wouldn't, I think he'll end up there. He probably already is there, but the only reason I would be hesitant is longevity. Let's let him do it, which I have no reason to believe he's not going to. I think nobody has any reason to believe he's not going to. But Bird and Stockton and Johnson and Isaiah did it for a long period of time. I think Steph will get there. I think he will be anointed into that GOAT status with those guys, deservedly so. Right now, to say he's there, he's well on his way there.
No, he's there. He's there, Steve.
Okay, well, okay.
He's won 3 NBA World Championships. He's going to go to 5 straight finals.
Okay.
And I don't care if he only played 7 years. When did Steph Curry come into the league? Like 2010? Cole?
Yeah, it's 2009, 2010 season.
So he's played 10 years. Larry Bird started in 1980 and was basically done by 1990. And Larry Bird won 3 titles.
I'm just a little cautious about throwing around GOAT titles. But I have no reason to deny him or think he's not going to be there or if he's not already there.
Well, I think this. The only point guard I take over him is Magic Johnson. Because right now, Steph Curry, I would take over Isaiah Thomas.
I don't disagree with that either.
So then how come you wouldn't consider him an all-time great?
I didn't say I wouldn't. I see. There you go. You're
Yeah,
putting
you
words in my mouth
did.
again.
I didn't put anything in your mouth.
I said the
You
only
made the
thing that I would
yeah.
say is holding him back would be the longevity. But if he's played 10 years, he's had this kind of success, he's won multiple championships, then, yeah, he's at that status. He's at that level now where he's GOAT. And he's in that elite class of players now who defined the NBA.
He's not
in
GOAT.
his era.
You're 60 years old. You can't call somebody GOAT. I'm 50. I can't either. It's only these stupid kids that call people GOAT. Because it's almost impossible to say who is absolutely the greatest player of all time because there's so many variables. You know,
I said he's in
Olajuwon
GOAT status.
Well, all right, but I still say you're too old to say GOAT. You're not too old to drink the milk from one because I think that's what they give you at the nursing home because it's healthier, isn't it?
I wouldn't know the answer to either question. I don't know that I've ever had a glass of goat's milk, and I've not spent a day in a nursing home.
All right, so how about this? How great is this team? Is this the greatest team of all time, Cole?
You know, it's a tough question because, like, you're comparing across eras between different teams.
And the game's different now than it was in 1985.
And yeah, exactly. The game's different. You don't really know how teams can stack up to one another when you're comparing across eras, like you said, when the game is so different. I certainly think Golden State should be in the conversation. I mean, their resume speaks for themselves. They've been to 5 straight finals. You know, the crazy thing about this team is we're talking about how dominant they are. They just swept Portland. Kevin Durant is a top 3 player in the NBA. He didn't play. They have DeMarcus Cousins on this team as well, who was unanimously looked at as a top 10 player in the NBA. You know, who knows when he'll be back, if he'll be back, but that just speaks to the talent that this team has. I mean, for them to be this dominant and to have 2, when they're healthy, top 10 players on the bench not playing, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the talent this team has is, you know, probably it can compare to any team in NBA history. It's arguably up there with any team in NBA history in my mind. Steve Kerr has been a coach for 5 years of this team. He's gone to 5 NBA finals. I think the resume speaks for themselves. I mean, they've been as dominant as pretty much any team in the NBA over this 5-year stretch. They've really taken the NBA by storm.
All right, Steve, you're old enough. You saw George Mikan play with the Minneapolis Lakers. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to ask you this question. And that would be, are they the greatest team of all time? And if they're not, what teams do you think would have been able to beat them? Because I have one team that stands out to me immediately, even though they're not the greatest team of all time, that I think would have gave them all kind of hell matchup-wise. But are they the greatest team? And if not, who do you think could have beat them?
Oh, I think the Lakers in their heyday would give them a run for their money, and probably when you had Magic and Worthy and Coop and Rambis and Jabbar and anyone, Byron Scott, any one of the other
Don't
guards.
forget Michael Cooper, who was one of the best defensive guards ever played.
I said Coop. I said Coop. Play the tape back.
I thought you said Coop.
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 That's what he was nicknamed, Coop.
Coop.
I think that's a team that certainly would play with them, and whether they win or not, I think it's impossible to compare back. Obviously, you're going to look at the Celtics, who won 11 out of 12 NBA championships, but that was such a different era of basketball.
Because I think when you get to the 60s,
when you look at accomplishment,
it was so slow a game compared to what it was.
Exactly. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I think in this era of basketball, certainly this Golden State franchise is up there with the Bulls, probably better than the Bulls. Better than any other team that's made a run in this era, and I'm excluding the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird era. I think that was a separate era into its own.
Well, I think that era.
I
think you could compare the '80s to now a little bit. The game
closer
is different
than you could the '60s. Yeah.
The thing that's scary is if you play the Celtics right now, the 3-point line's a couple feet closer than what it used to be, and Larry Bird, Scott Webman, Danny Ainge, that could be a problem. I don't know if athletically, because I think the 86 Celtics were the greatest team I ever saw. I think the 87 Lakers were the second greatest team I've ever saw. And I just don't know if the Celtics could have really matched up in the backcourt against them. And Robert Parrish, you had in the middle. I don't know that they have anybody that could have guarded him. So it was kind of here, there. And the 87 Lakers, that was a team that would run you into the ground. And you had guys like James Worthy. I still think those are the two greatest teams. I think every other team I've ever seen would have lost to this Golden State team, though, except for the 89-90 Bad Boys, because that was a team that you had two of the great defensive guards of all time, and Dumars and Thomas. You had Vinnie Johnson who could come off at the bench, and then you had Bill Laimbeer. Bill Laimbeer would have been a deadly three-point shooter. You move that line up a couple feet. You got guys like Rick Mahorn, Mark Aguirre, separate teams, of course, Adrian Dantley. So I would put them at third right now. I think they're greater. They've accomplished more than what that Pistons team did. But I think that Pistons team would have gave them – they could have matched up with them because of the defensive guards they had in the backcourt.
Well, that Pistons team didn't have a shabby basketball coach either in Chuck Daly.
And this is
he
the
was
thing,
every bit as good a coach as Steve Kerr.
This is the thing, though. Does that matter, Cole? I mean, when we sit here, we don't know if Steve Kerr can coach basketball or not. He's been given the best team. Mark Jackson built the team pretty much. They give it to him. And we see this all the time because I think Brad Stevens is probably technically, and Greg Popovich, probably the two best coaches in the NBA. But their talent level wasn't good enough to win it. And in the end, being a great coach, I don't think anybody's ever going to think Casey Jones was a great coach. But that was the best team I've seen. That was a team in the 86 Celtics that had guys like Wedman, Sheesting, Bill Walton coming off the bench. All these guys at one point were NBA All-Stars in their career. So they actually had 9 of the 12 guys on the roster had been NBA All-Stars. I don't think Casey Jones was the big difference here. So I think coaching here doesn't really matter because I think a great coach like Phil Jackson and Pat Riley were great coaches because they had great players. Pat Riley didn't win anything in New York because the Bulls had better players.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think coaching is, I don't think we really know much about Steve Kerr as a coach. I'm just going to be, I don't know how much of this is Steve Kerr versus, I mean, look, when you have guys like Steph Curry, when you have guys like Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant on your team, it doesn't really matter what plays you call. It doesn't matter what sets you call. Those guys can go one-on-one and score.
Yeah.
I think what Steve Kerr does is he does a good job of getting out of the way. And he does a good job of, letting the chemistry and the locker room dynamic between the team. I think he keeps that relatively in check, which is not the case across the NBA. Looking at you, Los Angeles Lakers, with, that meltdown this year. But Steve Kerr, I think he does a good job of keeping the team under control. He keeps them, together. And it's, for as much talent as they have, I will say this about Golden State, they don't really play that much iso ball compared to what you look at with teams like Houston, where it's really the James Harden show going one-on-one for a lot of the game. They do run set. They do move the ball. And I do give Steve Kerr credit for that. But I think the other big dynamic here is I think the guys at Golden State like to play with each other, and I don't think that's necessarily due to Steve Kerr. I think they just get along, which helps that. But, I tend to agree with you. I don't think Steve Kerr is a bad coach, but when you look at the Golden State team, it's not a coaching thing. It's just this team has so much talent, more talent than they probably know what to do with. And that's why they're such a dominant team, not because they're getting good coaching.
Yeah, and Steve, to further that example, when we look at all the great teams, I mean, is there any team that you've seen win an NBA World Championship where they didn't have the most talent and it was just basically coaching that got them there?
No.
Now, the only example I can give that made it to the finals would have been, was it 2001 when the Sixers made it? I think Larry Brown was a great coach. And Larry Brown took Allen Iverson and in 4 guys that, he pulled off a bus somewhere and got to the NBA Finals. But in the end, he still had to play Shaq and Kobe, and they got beat. Now, we can look at the NCAA and think, man, Jim Valvano did a great job in 1983 with NC State. Raleigh Massimino did a great job in 85. Bobby Knight did a great job in 1987. And you actually, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find an NBA world champion where if they weren't the most talented team in the NBA, they were damn close. And in college, we see this all the time where teams that don't have as much talent win. That's coaching to me. So that's why I hate to see a guy like John Beilein go to the NBA, because in the end, it's not going to matter how good a coach he is. It's going to be how good his front office is in getting players.
Well, I think there's also a theory with NBA coaches where their responsibilities are far different than college coaches. In the fact that you take a guy like a Phil Jackson or a Pat Riley, and I often consider them to be more great Zen masters or babysitters in the fact that they could keep the talent playing together without getting selfish and jealous of others' success. And in that right, even Popovich in the days when he had his big teams with
David
David
when you got
Robinson
Duncan and Robinson, it's hard not to win a championship.
Well, but it's Duncan and Robinson are similar than Jordan, Pippen, or the teams that Riley had put together at the Lakers or later on put together at Miami. There was so much talent there that his basically primary goal was to keep these guys from pissing on each other, so they kept a common goal and a common focus. Kerr, to me, falls into that category of those guys. So I don't know if we should be measuring college coach greatness to NBA coach greatness, because you're exactly right. 9 of the 10 players on the Celtics, or 12 players, were an all-star. You don't need to babysit those guys in terms of playing. But you do need to make sure that you got everybody happy.
What you need to do as an NBA coach is make your starting five happy so they don't get you fired. Because the other thing you'll notice is this. We talk about Pat. I know, but I'm going to kind of play off of that, so hold with me. But okay. Pat Riley, the coach before him, what happened to him? He got chased out of town by Magic. When you look at Phil Jackson, the coach before him, Doug Collins, got chased out of town by Michael Jordan. So maybe Phil Jackson was just really good at doing whatever Michael Jordan told him, and Pat Riley was really good at doing whatever Magic Johnson told him. And they knew what would happen if they didn't play along.
And so was Ty at Cleveland the year that they won it with LeBron. I mean, he just sat there and LeBron ran the timeouts.
Well, all I know is this, though. Whatever you say about Tyronn Lue, they did win a championship with him, and they didn't win after they got rid of him. So, no, I'm not saying you're knocking him, because I don't by any means think he's a great coach. But I think that he's probably a better coach than what people gave him credit for, and he must have done something at some point, because they did win it, where they didn't really even get close to sniffing beating the Warriors after he left. So this is why the NBA sucks for me, though.
Look at Ty. I mean, the Lakers courted him to sign him, and he said no because he wanted a 4-year deal, not a 3-year deal. I mean, was that going right back into the deal where Ty was coachable by LeBron, and they put him in there for 3 years until they get the players they want in place for Jason Kidd?
Yeah, and that's where we're going to go now, because yesterday we had Magic Johnson come on, what was it, ESPN's First Take.
Stephen A. Smith. Yeah.
When the Lakers traded D'Angelo Russell, they claimed it was solely for on-court reasons. Now Magic Johnson finally admits that the Nets landed a 23-year-old All-Star thanks to a Snapchat snafu. And basically what it was is Johnson acknowledged that after Russell had recorded teammate Nick Young's confession of infidelity, first time I read that I thought he actually, recorded the act itself, but then I put my glasses on and saw that it said confession of infidelity, and he shared it on Snapchat, as all good teammates do with their fellow teammates, and they had to deal away their young guard, who was probably one of the few players on that team worth keeping. So it seems to me that Magic Johnson was kind of put in a mess from the outset here, Steve.
Yeah, there definitely was some in-house fighting between Pelinka and Johnson. That's part of it. Pelinka was setting up Johnson for failure, and he didn't like it, got wind of it. Basically, Pelinka was claiming that Johnson was not spending enough time in the office as the president, and that Johnson came back and said Pelinka was actually going to Johnson's non-business partners, non-basketball business partners, and saying that he didn't spend any time in the office, and what's he doing for your organization. And so basically, without talking to anybody, Magic, who is somewhere between $500 million and $1 billionaire in his own right, doesn't need to put up with that, and just packed up his office and didn't tell anybody. Didn't tell LeBron. LeBron's all been out of shape about it. Didn't tell Jeannie Buss. She's heartbroken. Pelinka says it wasn't his doing, and he just packed his office up and left. And, they called him later, "Are you coming to work today?" He goes, "No, I quit." That's basically how it happened.
Well, how about this? Let me ask you this. You had D'Angelo Russell, and was it Nick Young or whatever his name is, known as Swaggy P?
Nick Young.
Why the hell is he known as Swaggy P? Do you know that, Cole?
I think it's just his general, the way he carries himself. I guess he just got the name. I honestly, he's had that since he's been in the NBA for a long time. I don't know the full story behind it.
So why when this happened, would you get rid of D'Angelo Russell and not Swaggy P? Is it because he had the cool nickname? I mean, because to me, I want to get rid of the dude that's cheating on his girl more than I want to get rid of the guy that busted him for cheating on his girl.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense at face value. Obviously Magic would have a lot more insight into, maybe there was more going on behind the scenes. That was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back instead of, the entire reason behind it. And certainly D'Angelo Russell kind of had a career revival with Brooklyn. I mean, they had a really good year. He had a really good year. And he's certainly going to get a big payday this offseason. But when you're a Lakers team, and at that point, they were just stockpiling young talent. That was a bad team, and you would think D'Angelo Russell would, be a piece they'd want to keep around for the long term and not just ship him out after one mistake in which it was, like you said, it was really Nick Young being an idiot. And I'm not saying D'Angelo Russell was right to share the Snapchat. It's obviously not something you really want to spread around.
Hey, but you know what? If
Nick
Young wouldn't have cheated on her, none of this would have happened anyways.
Exactly. Well, exactly. It's all started by Nick Young being an idiot and essentially bragging about it to people. That's obviously not a great dynamic in the locker room. I would think you'd want to support and put around there. So, I would think you'd want to get both of them out of there. If you're going to get Russell, at least get Young out of there with them. They didn't really do that. They shipped Russell out. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't understand the dynamic behind that. Maybe there's more behind the scenes that there had been issues with Russell prior to that led to him getting traded away. But on face value, it does look a little weird.
There's multiple components to this. Johnson wanted to get rid of Walton. First day, Pelinka comes in and says, "No, let's try and keep him." Pelinka comes back the second day, says, "All right, just get rid of him." First off, Johnson is Pelinka's boss. Pelinka is general manager of the squad. Johnson's president, team president. Johnson answers only to Jeannie Buss. But Pelinka's trying to enforce his will and make decisions. Third day, Pelinka comes in with another staff member and sits down with Johnson. And Johnson's like, "What the hell are you all doing in here? I'll make the call. I'm the team president." And that's when the Jason Kidd thing came into play, that Pelinka wanted Kidd involved, and Magic was like, I'm not going to be told what to do. I only answer to Jeannie. And that's when this whole thing blew up in their face. I think all the thing with the other players was kind of pissing between Pelinka and Johnson. And Magic just walked away from it. And they wanted Kidd in the fold. Pelinka wanted Kidd in the fold. I didn't realize, and I should have known this, but Kidd basically coached the Bucks for the 3 years before. And I don't know if the foundation and groundwork was laid by Kidd for the success the Bucks are having now. I don't know the answer to that because I didn't follow them that closely. But that was one of the reasons why many of the coaches wouldn't take a 4-year deal, because now it's come up recently that basically I think Giannis' contract's up in 2 years. And they brought Kidd in basically to try and lure Giannis to Los Angeles, was the reason that Kidd's been brought in.
That's the thing that's weird to me, though, Steve. So are the Lakers putting all of their eggs then in the Giannis basket? Are they hoping he comes there? Because, I'll say this. We talk a lot about how coaching doesn't matter. But the big thing about the Bucks, and you can say he laid the groundwork or whatever, but the reality is the Bucks
I don't know if he did
aren't a team that made they're not a team that made a lot of additions in terms of personnel and a lot of talent.
They underachieved last year because with their talent, didn't they lose in the first round?
Yeah, to Toronto.
So that's the thing to me is I'm looking at this and I'm saying, they shipped Jason Kidd out and they brought in a good coach in Budenholzer, and this team's significantly better. So I'm trying to figure out, why is Jason Kidd such an important piece to them? Because Milwaukee is significantly better without Jason Kidd than they are with him.
The story I got was,
why is Jason Kidd such an important?
Because Kidd is the one who moved Giannis to point guard and gave Giannis basically his moniker. By allowing Giannis to go play point guard, that put Giannis on the map as a superstar and allowed him to use all of his talents in a more ball-controlled environment, control the pace of the game and things. So the belief there is, as I'm taking it, there is loyalty to Kidd from Giannis. And if Kidd is at the Lakers, and, you know, again, to me, that signals why Frank Vogel only got a 3-year deal, why they only wanted to offer Ty a 3-year deal, because that's about the time when Giannis is going to become available, and they're going to want to be able to insert Kidd in as head coach at that point in time. Kidd doesn't have a bad record as a head coach. And he's got not a great record. Didn't have a title, obviously, but he's done well at Brooklyn, and he did well. He did get the Bucks into a winning scenario, having that been a losing program for so many years. So that's my theory on why it's all happened. Magic didn't like it being rammed down his throat and walked away from it. Now the word came out the other day that they asked him, Stephen A. Smith in the interview said, "Hey, if Genie puts the Lakers up for sale," he said, "I'll be the first in line to buy the team." You see, sure, Kobe would too. Kobe wants to buy the Lakers too. But there's no reason for Genie Buff to sell the team. It's a cash cow team. The Lakers make money hand over foot whether they win or not. They sell out every game. They play in the biggest television market. There's absolutely no reason for her to ever sell that basketball team.
Other than the fact she can make like $1 billion freaking and not have to deal with all the drama anymore.
Well, she'll make more than $1 billion. She'll make multiple billion.
Yeah,
she's
but she
already
has to
a billionaire.
deal with the bullshit. So.
Yeah, well, I think she goes off in her la-la land and leaves it to Magic and Pelinka to deal with. Out here in L.A., she's a social butterfly. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen her be involved in a serious decision about the Lakers. She floats around the court, social media in the whole world, and goes to dog shows and social events and things like that. She's a figurehead for the team. Johnson and Pelinka are running that basketball franchise. And, I live out here. I see it daily in the papers and on the news. So.
All right.
Time will tell.
I got an opinion I need from you two guys, because we got a little football story here. The Buffalo Bills have decided to let another running back wear O.J. Simpson's number 32 for the first time since O.J. Simpson left. What do you think, Cole? Should they let him, or should O.J. Simpson's number have already been retired years ago?
It's an interesting story. I think his number probably should have been retired. I think he was such a dominant force that, I'll say this. I think his number should have been retired, but if it's not retired, then let the guy wear the number. I don't think it's something you should keep the number away from him if the number is not retired. He was such a dominant player. I think he deserves it. I think his resume speaks for itself. He's been one of the best running backs in NBA or NFL history. But if the number is not retired, I think it's fair game. If they don't want anyone to wear it, then the number should be retired. That's kind of my view on that.
Steve?
Was his number not retired?
No. Just nobody wore it. But they've got Jim Kelly's number 12 retired, Thurman Thomas's number 34, and Bruce Smith's number 78.
I don't think I even really have an opinion on it. If it's not retired and it's available and somebody wants to wear the number, sure, why not? I mean,
why wouldn't it be retired?
Yeah, that's my question. Why wouldn't it be retired?
Because
he's on the Wall of Fame there.
Yeah. He didn't, kill or not kill his wife in 1994. He left the Bills, I think, after the 77 or 78 season. There's 16 years in there. And O.J. Simpson, just for being a flat-out running back, maybe the greatest running back of all time. I mean, this was a dude that had, a 14-game season, ran for over 2,000 yards. I mean, we've only seen one or two guys do that since in a 16-game season. And he was found not guilty that time.
I mean, if his number's not retired and it's a viable active number, and somebody wants to wear 32,
but it should be retired. It should have been retired by 1982.
The shock to me is the number's not retired. At which time it should stay retired and not be used again. But if it's not retired, I think that's why, out of respect, nobody wore the number before. And maybe in the later years it was because nobody wanted to be affiliated with that number. Well, I think that probably played into it. But if there's a player that wants to wear it and it's a viable number, I would have no reason to say no, you can't wear it. But I'm just flabbergasted that the number 32.
Now here's the other question, retired. Steve. If you were a young football player and you went to Buffalo, would you want to wear number 32?
No. I would not. I would not want to be tied to the connotation of O.J. Simpson in any way, shape, or form. Whether he's found guilty or innocent,
he's
still a pariah on society in terms of what the connotation is and what's associated with O.J. Simpson. Whether he was found guilty or not, still the label is still there, and I would not want to associate myself with that label. I would find a different number to wear.
All right, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really want to wear it. You know, I'm just reading the story now, and the guy that took it said he thought it was retired. He wasn't going to take it, and then they told him the number's available, so he took it. You know, I wouldn't want to wear it. I would probably stay away from it. I'm sure there's plenty of other numbers you can take, but, you know, maybe if you want to try to live up to the legacy, so to speak, or try to follow in the footsteps, I guess, with the career he had, you might try to take it.
Football-wise.
Unless maybe he's got an old lady that's pissing him off.
Murder-wise.
Maybe that's
you can
imagine.
You can just imagine all of the puns and jokes and idiot comments are going to come anytime anything happens to him. You know, hey, OJ, hey, number 32, did you slice through the line there? I mean, you can start throwing them out there right now. This is the thing, though.
The thing about that is it does make him relevant. And, Steve, you said whether it's good or bad, if they're talking about
bad,
it,
right? Yeah,
good.
No, and I was thinking of that statement right there. Whether it's good news or good comments.
See, I wouldn't wear it if I was him because, number one,
you would or wouldn't?
I wouldn't, because his name is Cinerise Perry, and I mean, come on. I mean, if you're
I
going to wear,
think you're opening up.
If you're going to wear number 32 though and be a Buffalo Bill,
you better be good.
Be a stud. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you better be a stud. You better be damn good to put that number on and live with the crap you're going to live with on a day-to-day basis at home and at away games, especially. I personally would opt out of that mess and say I don't need to will this on myself as long as trying to be a running back for Buffalo in the NFL. That can't be easy in its own right.
On that note, too, he's talking about you should be good if you take that. Perry has 8 attempts for 30 yards in his career. This is his 5th season. So not exactly a great running back.
So he's probably not going to run 100,000 in a year. Yeah, so he's getting publicity this way.
So he gets publicity this way, exactly right. He can't do it on the field, but if he wears 32, he's going to be in a camera shot most of the time.
Exactly.
And there'll be comments made by, news media and everything like that. The new O.J. Simpson, I don't know. I wouldn't touch it. I would think there are other numbers, and that's just not a path me personally would want to go down. Although I do believe that the Earnhardt there is any publicity is good publicity. So you put it on, but I wouldn't want that.
And Julian Edelman signed a 2-year contract extension.
Good. How many Chiefs and Cowboys have been arrested? I saw Ezekiel Elliott handcuffed last night.
Was he?
Beating up some,
I didn't know
beat
that.
up some security guard. They had it on film last night.
Really? Not a Cowboy. I mean, the Cowboys and Chiefs could never play in the Super Bowl just because there wouldn't be enough security for the hotels.
He was walking out of he was in Vegas, and there was some fences put up and security around, and he went up and bumped the security guard. He didn't physically hit him he just bumped him. The guy tripped over the fence, went down, and the next thing you see is him being led away in handcuffs. Now, whether he was charged with anything or not, he wasn't belligerent, but he was being stupid. He was being not what you would think Ezekiel Elliott who would be. And that's the problem with those guys.
Stephen Jones. Here, listen to this. Stephen Jones, Cowboys. That's, of course, Jerry Jones's son. Responded to the video of Ezekiel Elliott incident in Vegas by saying, I know Zeke's got a big heart.
There you go. That takes care of it. I mean, that team just attracts boneheads. I mean, it's consistent theme with them.
The best thing for him to do was to just walk away.
Wait a second. You got to hear this. You got to hear this. You got to hear this, Steve. You know where this happened at? This happened at the Electric Daisy Carnival, where he pushed a security officer to the ground at about 3 a.m.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. First off, what are you doing out at 3 a.m.?
Yeah. Nothing good happens after midnight.
Nothing good happens after 1 o'clock in the morning. Exactly. So what is he doing there? He didn't swing at the guy. He didn't use his hands. He basically just went up to him and rubbed him with his chest, and the guy basically tripped over the fencing that was there. But he definitely tripped because Ezekiel pushed him or walked him into the fence.
Hey, the security guard refused to press charges.
Hey, he probably got a jersey out of the deal and a helmet or football.
He's got new season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys.
New season tickets, exactly. Yeah.
Now, the question is this. He's been in trouble before. Is the NFL going to suspend him for it? Because they don't even have to – you don't have to be arrested to get suspended by the NFL now.
Yep.
I don't think it merits – having seen the videotape, I don't think it merits any further discussion other than Jones or their unimportant coach.
Yeah, but I agree with that, Steve. But remember this. Tom Brady's deflated balls didn't deserve a 4-game suspension either.
No, and I think that was a stupid move, even more stupid than this, but I don't think anything will come of this. I think what should happen is but it's not going to happen because, like I said, somebody needs to set Ezekiel down and say, look, dude, you're a magnet for trouble. Stay out of trouble. Stay away from magnets. Just what are you doing out at 3 a.m. at a party with your posse? Just get, I don't know. It seems no matter how much these guys succeed, they do everything they can to fail.
Yeah.
They just put themselves in positions that they're just going to, no matter how much they succeed on the field, they immediately get off the field and go find ways to screw up their lives, either with drugs, with beating women, with fighting and scraping. What does Ezekiel Elliott need to be even doing that? Just walk away. You have a posse around you. Let them handle that shit.
Well, I mean, Steve, we can talk about the Randy Gregory situation with them. That's the guy from around here. Yeah,
dude, you can talk about Greg Hardy. There's a lot of Cowboys situations like that. It's the Cowboys and the Chiefs. They're basically the state correction facility for the NFL.
And Cole, I don't know how much you know Randy. I know Randy. I coached him in basketball.
Yeah.
Never coached him in football. Yeah. A sweet kid. I mean, just a good-hearted kid.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's like, God, Randy, I know you. What are you doing? And he's got great parents too. Randy's got great parents.
No, I feel bad for him. I think he's a good guy. He has a problem. Yeah, he's addicted. I mean, he has an addiction problem. He has a very real problem.
What's he addicted to?
I think it's just marijuana, I believe.
Well, you can't get addicted to marijuana.
I don't think it's
yes,
worse
you can, Steve. That's retarded.
Yeah, you can.
You can get addicted to anything you enjoy.
You can get addicted to the metaphoric high of pot, I guess.
No, you can get addicted to it. What makes you think you can't get addicted to a chemical substance?
As far as all the literature and data I've read, that there have been no studies demonstrating any addictive properties of cannabis. Now, I have not researched it to the nth degree, but from what I have researched, that there has been no study that has proven any addictive properties of cannabis. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to debate this.
Well, how about
because
this then?
I'm not well versed in it.
Hold on.
But
this is my question now.
You can be.
If it wasn't addictive, why would these guys like him and Josh Gordon be throwing their lives away?
Because, like I said, they get addicted to the high of the feeling good of the process. However, cannabis in its own right, as I have read, is not addictive. That's based on the studies I have read, the analytical studies I have read. It doesn't mean that they don't do it every day and go, damn, this is the best I've felt all day.
All
So
right.
I love this feeling, so I'm addicted to this feeling. You know, who sung it? Get Hooked on a Feeling. I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. I don't know, one hit wonder band sung that song.
Okay, I do know this. People that use marijuana frequently do have chemical withdrawal symptoms, though.
Again, I have not
So
found
the
that in the study
National
and read that.
Institute,
But I have not researched.
I have.
Yeah.
The National Institute of Drug Abuse. Marijuana use disorders are often associated with dependency, which means that they are addictive, in which a person feels withdrawal symptoms when not taking a drug. People who use marijuana frequently often report irritability, mood and sleep difficulties, decreased appetite, cravings, restfulness, and or various forms of physical discomfort that peak within the first week after quitting and last up to 2 weeks. So my question is this: can you be addicted to cigarettes?
Sure, you can get addicted to nicotine. That's an addictive property.
All right. So is this, Steve, because
But
it
there's
is
no
the
nicotine.
same thing.
There's no nicotine in cannabis.
There is THC, which is addictive.
That has not been proven.
Yes, it has. I'm sitting here looking at the
Theorized.
CDC. I'm looking at the National Institute on Drug Abuse. The National Institute on Drug Abuse, I think, is fairly well respected. Marijuana use order becomes addiction when the person cannot stop using the drug, even though it interferes with many aspects of his or her life. When you look at being addicted to something, and we look up the word addiction, and you look up addiction, it says when doing something, it doesn't say anything chemically, but when doing something, the addiction, the person cannot stop using the drug, even when it interferes with many aspects of their life. So,
yeah, but you're selectively reading what they're saying here.
I'm not selectively reading a damn thing. I'm reading what it says.
There are epidemiological studies of substances that often use dependence as a proxy for addiction. But you can have a dependence and not be addicted to it.
Okay.
So
what the hell is the
I'm
difference?
reading the same study you're reading.
What's the No, you're not. I don't see where it says anything you just said.
You were reading verbatim the same thing that I'm looking at from the National Institute of Drug Abuse on drug abuse.
Yeah. So where does it say that it is not addictive?
A dependence means that if I use CBC or CBC.
What's CBC?
And I use CBC because of arthritis I have in my legs.
That's
or
CBD,
my
which
neuropathy.
has no drug
CBD.
in it. There's no THC in CBD.
Well, okay, and I've never
There is
taken
nothing
pot.
addictive
However,
in there.
I know, but a dependency and an addiction, as I know it, dependency means I like the feeling I get every day from being pain-free in my legs, from not having to do it. I get dependent on the drug for that feeling. Addictiveness is like alcohol, meaning I have to drink to remain stoic or to remain functional. And alcohol is an addictive property.
And
To the
so
best
is
of
marijuana.
and again, I am a novice at this conversation. I could be making a total ass of myself, which is not unusual. However, from what I know about it, most of the studies, I've not seen a study yet that says marijuana is addictive. It can be dependent, which are two different scenarios played out.
All right, CDC,
But we're splitting
drugrehab.com, regular or heavy use of marijuana can lead to dependency and addiction. Despite widespread debate on the topic, research has confirmed that marijuana is habit-forming, which makes it addiction.
But that doesn't make it addictive.
What? It's habit-forming. That's addiction. Am I right here, Cole? You're the one about to graduate from college.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at drugabuse.gov. It says marijuana use can lead to marijuana use disorder, which takes the form of addiction in severe cases.
Right.
In the case of Randy Gregory,
that's the government propagating your brain.
Oh, fuck. Here we go. This is what it is, Steve. All right? You want to get down to this. The reason they are making marijuana legal is because they want people stupid. They want them lazy so the government can do whatever the hell they want to do. You could sit there and think that it's not dangerous, but you can't find me too many potheads that are productive. They're just not. And the NFL players that I've talked to that use weed use it for pain. They don't use it when the season's over because it's stupid to do that. Anything that alters your mind, why do you want to do that? Well, my
agree.
answer is this. The reason people want to alter their mind is because they want to get out of the life that they're in. This is what's going to happen. We've got all these foods and everything with chemicals, poisons put on them. They're going to legalize this all over the place, and everybody's going to be excited. It is going to be the most powerful weed you've ever seen. And it's also going to have chemicals added to it then. And it's going to destroy your brain because they want us stupid, lazy, and subservient to the government. That's why they give you welfare. That's why they give you food stamps, because they make it impossible to get off of it because it's so easy to not do a damn thing. And I see all these people, and I have all these teenagers tell me, well, it's just weed. It's not. And you know what? If you told me, would you rather have your son out smoking weed or drinking beer? I'd rather have him out smoking weed. Because beer kills other people too. Alcohol is dangerous as hell. But alcohol is legal. And I don't have a problem with weed being. I don't have a problem with anything being legal as long as you don't harm somebody else when you use it. My problem is this, though. They have basically convinced the youth of this nation that it's all right to go get baked out of your mind whenever you want. Just like they've, let everybody, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want to do now. That's the way the society is. If you get pregnant, you want to kill a baby, kill a baby. What the hell? Nobody takes any personal responsibility for themselves. So Randy Gregory, to me, when I've coached football in the past, a professional team, if I caught you smoking weed, you were off that team. Because my look at it is this. If I tell you ahead of time, you can't play on my team if you do this, and you still do that, then you don't give a shit anyways. And I can tell you this, in the 90s when I coached high school football, I didn't let anybody wear an earring. And it wasn't because I thought they were stupid, but I do. I don't know why a man would want to wear an earring, which is women's jewelry. But when I look at this, and I tell you, you got to remove that earring, and you won't remove that earring, that tells me that earring is more important to you than this football team's success. So I don't have a need for you on my team. And Randy Gregory, doesn't matter whether weed is addictive or not. He's told you can't do that and play. He chooses to do that, so then he chooses not to play. It's that simple. Randy Gregory is a dumbass. He can be the sweetest kid in the world, but he's still a dumbass. And that's what it comes down to. Josh Gordon, all the talent in the world, but he's a dumbass. Who wants to work with a dumbass? Just me.
Well, and to carry off that, to carry off that, Mike, and the Randy situation is so shocking and bizarre because he's failed situations where they tell him, we are drug testing you on this date. You come in and you're getting a drug test here, and
Josh
he
Gordon
still fails that drug test.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you call? He can't stop.
That has to be addiction,
other than
Steve.
an addiction. Yeah, I don't know what you would call that. If you know when you're getting drug tested, you know what's going to happen if you're on it, and you still can't stop.
Yeah, you just stop doing it for a month, and you can do it again, and you'll be fine. But he can't stop for that month. It has to be addiction. And all these people will tell you that it's not addiction because they're trying to sell you a line of goods. And in the end, it'll probably be legalized in every state, and the government's going to make a ton of money off of it, and they're going to be able to put in whatever they need to put in to preserve it so they can, keep it for 3 years and still sell it. And in the end, the only people to get screwed over are us, and the only thing we end up is with a bunch of pothead kids all under the age of 35 now that someday are going to run this country.
I think Steve is withdrawing the conversation.
I was waiting to hear.
Oh no, I mean, like I said, I'm not intelligent enough to speak on it other than what I'm reading. So,
man, I don't really buy reading the CDC either, Cole. So because it is government propaganda in most cases. So,
yeah,
and you can find government propaganda that'll tell you whatever, but usually government propaganda is propaganda for a reason. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up because we're almost to an hour. Steve, any final comments before we go?
Nope.
Cole?
Yeah, no.
Are you smoking weed, Cole? I heard you cough.
No, I was smoking weed during the entire conversation.
I know it's addictive, Steve.
I'm doing it right now. But no final comments from me. I think Milwaukee-Toronto will be an interesting game tonight. I guess I'm going to have a post-game article wrapping up the series for Golden State-Portland. I'll send that to you guys here this afternoon. But outside of that, that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Give us a mock draft at some point, too, before the draft.
Yeah, I'll do that, too.
People eat the mock drafts up. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We will be back at noon tomorrow for Survive in Advance. You can hear the Sheridan Report at 2:30 and Inside Boxing Daily tonight at 11 o'clock, all live on thegruelingtruth.com. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Cole Hanna, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.